recognize this man? Because as we're having conversations this week about the Democrats and whether or not they're controlled opposition or just incompetent, we really need to talk about Rahm Emanuel. I know I said I would try to make the next video shorter because some of you were like, your video has been really long lately, but this is incredibly important, okay? If you care at all, or if you've been a part of the conversation at all talking about whether or not the Democrats are controlled opposition or a party that can be reformed, then this is important to discuss. So watch the video on 2 times speed, watch it on 1.5, but understand who Rahm Emanuel is and how the Democratic Party is trying to make him happen again. I'll link the video I was talking about it in, and also Samaya, who brought this up. I have not seen a better example. You couldn't come up with a better example of them being controlled opposition than this. Here's David Axelrod, who worked for President Obama as his senior advisor, saying this: Dems need to have a strong and strategic party leader. This is regarding who's going to head the DNC, by the way. The head of the party apparatus, so kind of a big deal. With broad experience in comms, fundraising, and winning elections, fundraising being the big one because we know how much you guys love that corporate and donor money. One thought I surfaced was Ambassador Rahm Emanuel. You put that out there like it was a good idea. You really put this out there like you actually had a thought that was great that people needed to listen to. Is this a fucking joke? This is the reason how I know Democrats can't be reformed and how they're controlled opposition, because if you don't know who Rahm Emanuel is one of the architects of the failed neoliberal project that people keep rejecting election after election. He worked with Hillary Clinton's campaign. He worked for Bill Clinton. He worked for Barack Obama. So first of all, right there, it already shows you what fucking losers the Democrats are and what failures they are and how they've learned nothing and won't learn anything because they're controlled opposition. Because why would you dig this guy up? Why? He literally is a perfect portrait and representation of everything people hate about the Democrats. In fact, I can't think of anyone who is more emblematic of the rot in the Democratic Party than Rahm Emanuel. They talk about getting new energy in there, changing the party to make it reflect the working class more, and you're gonna bring in the architect of neoliberalism who's worked on one failed campaign after the other and is a professional loser? What? And this is not anything that is unknown to the Democrats, okay? They're aware of this. There is article after article after article after article that if you Google his name, you will see a comprehensive guide to Rahm Emanuel's failure as mayor. In a final act, Emanuel cements the legacy of tolerating corruption. Rahm Emanuel wants you to forget he's a corrupt failure. The sudden but well-deserved fall of Rahm Emanuel. You guys, when you think of every single thing wrong with the Democratic Party, his name is next to it. He was the mayor of Chicago, and you want to talk about cartoonish corruption? Just read some of these articles. This guy is so fucking corrupt, he makes Eric Adams look like Robin Hood. You guys, this article is from 2016. Rahm Emanuel is a national disgrace. Why he represents every worst instinct of the Democratic Party. Seriously? You're talking about self-reflection now, looking forward and reforming the Democratic Party, and yet you want to have someone head the DNC who everyone knows is incredibly corrupt and helped usher in the transition from Democrats being a party of workers to a party of Wall Street elites. And they knew it back in 2016. People were already calling him out for it and writing about it. And yet you have people like David Axelrod and people with influence in the party saying, he's the guy they need? Was Ron Globoyevich, or whatever the fuck his name was, unavailable? Was Anthony Weiner busy? Is this a joke? He's also a rabid Zionist and anti-Palestinian bigot. When Japan, because he was the ambassador of Japan, let me pause for a sec. First, when Biden got elected, he wanted to make him his chief of staff. And there was a huge outcry over it. So they kind of were like, oh, okay, I guess we can't really do that, because he's also super racist and covered up the murder of a black kid, which we'll get to also in a second. So instead, Biden made him the ambassador to Japan. Putting him in his cabinet at all is a slap in the face to all the black people that were responsible for getting Biden elected in the first place. Everybody knows that it was black people that got Biden into office. So to turn around and to appoint Rahm Emanuel to shit, what a fucking disgrace. And this clown boycotted a ceremony in Japan, even though he was the ambassador to Japan, because of the fact that they disinvited the Israeli regime because of the genocide. You got that? So he was invited as the ambassador, he should have gone, but because Japan disinvited the Israeli regime, as they should have, because of the genocide. He's like, I'm not going. And all of this stuff is known. People have known that Rahm Emanuel was a corrupt kleptocrat for years. But here's David Axelrod back in 2021, okay, look at the date, congratulating him on becoming the ambassador of Japan. And here's me, because if you were paying attention for the last couple of years, you would know anybody who pays any attention to politics or democratic politics has known that Rahm Emanuel is the worst of the actual fucking worst. He is a caricature of corruption. And here's me saying, understand something, folks. When Biden administration and pundits continue to try to make Rahm Emanuel happen, who was so cartoonishly corrupt that there are endless articles about it, they're also letting you know that black lives do not matter to them because he covered up the death of a black kid. And here's me also, back in 2021, pointing out that Senate Democrats were holding a confirmation hearing for Rahm Emanuel on the 20th October, the day Laquan McDonald was murdered in 2014. Emanuel covered up his death and was never held accountable, and this is how Biden rewards the black community that was the ones who got him into office. And all of this is known and in the public domain. Rahm Emanuel's cover-up of Laquan McDonald's death cannot be forgotten. You'll remember Laquan McDonald was a 17-year-old boy in Chicago that got shot in the back fatally while running away from the police. As Emanuel was fighting for re-election as mayor of Chicago, he kept video of the police murder of Laquan McDonald hidden from public view. Emanuel's administration spent more than a year arguing against releasing the footage of the 17-year-old's death to the public, only relenting because of a judge's order. Here's a video, I don't know exactly from what year it was, but it's a while ago, of a town hall from Chicago with a constituent talking about Rahm Emanuel's chicanery.
You have to put money into prevention. And right now, nobody has really said it, but his name is Rahm Emanuel. And this mayor that we have in the city of Chicago does not care about black people. And I'm gonna put that on the record. When you can invest $100 million into the Paul basketball arena when they can practice at the United Center for free, and $16.4 million into Uptown to build upscale apartments, when you can build these new bus stops we got now downtown, but walk in our neighborhoods and not $1 million is coming. When we walking past boarded up schools, boarded up houses, they knock it down with red X's with no plan to redevelop, mental health facilities shut down, the unemployment rate is the highest in Chicago than it is around the country. When you want to talk about violence, you got to talk about the economics, not police.
The fact that Rahm Emanuel hasn't been run the fuck out of town or run the fuck out of democratic politics really just kind of answers the question, doesn't it? I didn't even do as much breakdown of how corrupt he is because it would have made the video twice as long going through his corruption. And I was trying not to make it too long. But seriously, there could be a 20-minute video just on his corruption. He has been responsible for a lot of the losses and decimation of the Democratic Party and the hollowing out of the party. So why, if you were serious about reform or serious about changing course and winning elections again, why would you ever invite him back into any room? Every loser fucking Democratic consultant and advisor and all the hacks over the DNC should all be fired and never to be heard from again. And there are few people as well deserving of being run out of town, never to be heard from again, than Rahm fucking Emanuel. So if you had any question about whether or not Democrats were going to do any self-reflection or clean house to try to win elections again, or moving away from their failed neoliberal strategy and just representing Wall Street rather than working people, here's your answer: no.